Hey, it's Louisa Vala and you are watching Gatehouse Insights. On today's episode, I'm joined by Mark Carrazzo, who is a Special Counsel at Kelly Hazel Quill. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's okay. So I want to frame today's conversation on two different points. The first being about business relationships and building that network and business development. And the second one on team building and managing teams and getting the best out of them. But before we go down that path, I want you to share a little bit about your story, because you initially went to the bar.
I did. I started off as a barrister. I thought at that stage that was the quickest and most effective way to be involved in the law. I also will happily admit I also saw it as a great way to get away from admin and office politics.
And at the bar, you realised you had other passions. At what point did you realise you had other passions to do things?
Probably after about 6 years, the excitement of it wore off for me. But I had done economics and I really enjoyed being with people and building goodwill, so I thought I'd pursue things more of a business type nature.
So what else do you do?
At that stage I went on and did PR and marketing. That was great. So today I've really moved myself into being a business advisor and a business consultant while still practising law.
Because you're a Special Counsel at KHQ?
I am. I'm a Special Counsel at KHQ. I do a little bit of front-end construction reading work, but it tends to dovetail very well with the other work I do in the business advisory section, yeah.
So you have a wealth of knowledge on business and maintaining relationships.
I think you're being kind to me saying wealth, Louise. But look, I have given talks on that topic. I think the most important thing to do is to build rapport, and you can only build rapport with people by frequency of contact. And I think in a world where people have lots of competing demands on them, it's getting harder and harder to get their attention, to build that rapport. Like you and I, we've known each other now probably over 4 or 5 different occasions. We're more comfortable with each other. So that happens over time. So I think you've got to just be persistent in getting in front of clients, and that may be with an event or with a newsletter or a video. But it can be something as simple as sending an email to follow up to see how they're going, to congratulate them on something, to remember an anniversary. All those little incidents help to build that rapport. So that to me is step one. And step two is even more important. That's to build trust. I mean, nothing happens without trust. And in my business, there's lots of consultants out there that write books on consultancy. I ignore most of them. I think that they can be distracting. But I do respect one gentleman called Stephen Covey, who wrote a book back in the late 80s called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And Stephen says that trust is the glue of life, and it clearly is. So building trust with clients is important. And my absolute catchphrase about that is you build trust by doing what you said you were going to do, or communicating a plausible reason for not doing so. So if you continue to do what you say you're going to do over time, eventually clients will trust you.
We touched on it briefly before about communication and how we were saying that if you say to a client you're going to deliver something by a certain time and you don't, just communicating with the client as to why you didn't. Because if you don't communicate or you just ignore it, you'll never be able to build that trust.
That's fine. Look, if you communicate a reason and it's plausible for not being able to do it, you may even advance the relationship further because they think this is the sort of person whom under pressure will actually be honest and come to me and allow me to reorganise my schedule early because they've communicated the fact that the advice is not coming for another day or two and I can organise my schedule. So it's doing what you say you're going to do. We all are aware of circumstances where we can't, but as long as you keep communicating, that's critical.
And in terms of moving, I suppose you gain clients and then getting them from, I suppose, client to an ambassador.
Oh, we all love to turn.
How do we do that?
We all love to think we can turn them into an ambassador or an advocate. Well, look, I think that's really special care to them. Obviously, you've given them first-class service as a lawyer or an advisor, but secondly, that you give them extra special attention. And there's a rule around there called the 80-20 rule. Nobody, or Pareto's principle, nobody knows why it applies. But I think that you'll find that of 80% of your contacts, the top 20% will be the ones that will be your ambassadors, that will be willing to break into a conversation, say, hey, you've got to use Louise or Mark because they're excellent. So keep a contact list, have your top A list there, and make sure you're staying in front of them a lot by lunching with them, seeing them, taking them to events, doing whatever you can, sending them stuff so that they go out there and will actually be your ambassador or your advocate.
What else would you do to get first-class client service?
What else would I do? First-class
service for clients.
Well, I think, as you say, communication is the key.
Yeah.
Keeping it simple is the key for first-class service. I think, knowing where to send them if you can't do the particular work that they need, and liaising with that particular outsider, I think that's all critical to first-class service. I think in today's world, it's hard for any one of us to have the absolute answers for all your clients' needs at any one time, but as long as you follow those rules, clients will come to be very comfortable with you.
Touching on marketing, what else can lawyers and law firms do to do more marketing?
I think, look, there's lots of marketing happening out there, but I don't think all of it is good, to be honest. I have 3 simple rules with marketing. Is firstly, I say to an organisation, go out there and work out what you're selling first. So, is it really legal services you're selling? Maybe. I don't know whether people really want to pay a fortune for lots of words on letters and legal advice. I think what they're really buying from you is reassurance and the confidence of knowing that they can move forward. So once you've established that will then mould how you market it. I think, secondly, they should stand in the shoes of their audience a bit more. You see a lot of technical type topics out there, lots of technical type newsletters, but really, is that what the client wants in this very busy world? And thirdly, is to stay away from generic sameness, what I call sameness type messages like we are highly qualified, or we've been doing this a long time, or we're friendly. Look, that's a taken, that's a given. What you really should be saying with that small amount of time that you've got for their attention is that we can value add to you, we can lower costs, we can, even more importantly, save you time, because really time is what is a currency everybody wants and needs right at the moment.
Now, you're also very into teams and getting the best out of people.
Yes.
Can you share with our audience some tips and advice that they can implement to get the most out of their team, individuals within their group?
I mean, communication is a big part of everything we do. So we've already touched on that before, but obviously communicating with people in simple ways is a great way of a leader building rapport. I think a team needs to have a vision as well. We all need to have a vision. Sometimes we don't realise we're pushing the team, but we haven't given that team anything to aspire to. So I certainly believe in individuals creating visions for themselves as to where they want to be, and teams. I also am very passionate about small wins to build confidence. I mean, you'll find 2 things really will be at the heart of whether a person or a team progresses, and one will be vision, and secondly will be their confidence in changing and meeting that vision. So building confidence is really important, and in that regard I believe in small steps. Take the team through a few wins, doing small things, get their confidence up, and then take them to bigger challenges as you go. But I certainly believe in small steps when I'm advising clients or teams on where to go.
With the confidence aspect, I met a lawyer this morning, and she was telling me that she left her current firm because the partner would have to manage and check everything before it went out to the client. And she said even if it was just a simple email saying, thanks, can you please attach, or can you please send me this document, she was saying it just shattered everyone's confidence, and no one was confident to actually do things because they were so scared. What's your views on that?
I think that's a great point. I mean, that's micromanaging to the extreme and not empowering people. People actually will perform to the level that others decide for them. So if you have someone decide for you that you're not capable of reading an email, you'll behave to that level. Now, I'm not suggesting we all we can all be left unchecked. But that sort of behaviour is crushing confidence. It's not empowering, and it's not consistent with long-standing principles actually of delegating work, which is basically give a good brief up front, check in with that individual from time to time and see whether they need support, and after the job's over, debrief and see what they could have done better. So yeah, you raise a terrific point in hand on confidence.
What are your thoughts on, I suppose, sitting down with each person in your team and sussing out, okay, how do you like to work?
Well,
what are your thoughts?
Well, we're all individuals. I mean, and I think these times more than any in the past, we're dealing with people from all different sorts of backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds on why they want to be at work, what their purpose is for work. So in order to get the best out of a team, you need to get the best out of the sum of the parts. So you need to get the best out of each individual that makes up that team, and that person's got different motivations. So you need to sit down and work out what is bringing this person to work, what makes them tick, those sort of issues. So individual conversations to me are critical.
So you're almost adapting your leadership style to each individual person, like still having an overall, okay, this is how I lead my
Yes.
team to get the best, but then adapting it just a little bit to each individual so that you're getting the best out of them.
Yes, I mean that they need to feel that they have a connection with you, and you need to know them, as I say, in order to get the best out of them.
Moving on to, I suppose, disappointments and setbacks. We all face them.
Yeah, sure.
It comes up in work, personal life. What do you do to best manage these twists and turns, ups and downs?
I wish I could answer that question. I'd probably market that and make a lot of money. You're talking about a word called resilience. I think it's almost being overused. Look, the little bit of work I've done in that area seems to suggest that a lot of the times we do talk ourselves into negativity, and that we need to work a little bit harder to look at that setback in perhaps a more positive light. I think I read something the other day about a breakdown in a relationship or a marriage where it said, don't be sad because it's over, smile because it happened. And we have to take these setbacks and look at really what they're offering us. Often they're a challenge that has awoken us to where we need to improve, or they're a sign that we need to head in different directions. So it's all about the stories we create in our mind and the positive affirmations that we're feeding our brain. And I think mindfulness, to be honest with you, being able to calm our mind is a really important weapon against a setback taking control and spinning us into a negative spiral. So I'm a great advocate of mindfulness, of stilling the mind. I do it every day at least once.
It's almost we've got to retrain our mind to think differently, because
Yes.
we've grown up always thinking positive, and what's the worst situation combined with news and newspapers and things like that, it's always negative. So how does someone recondition their mind to look at the positive?
Well, I think that firstly, it's not necessarily always looking at the positive, it's not accepting the negative. So absolutely stopping the mind and getting into the moment of what you're doing, of the scenery around you, of all the different sensory issues around you is a great way to stop the mind coming up with the reoccurring negative thoughts. So that's what I say. I think mindfulness is excellent. I've also dabbled in affirmations, so tapes that spin over positive things. I'm not an expert in this. I find having conversations with people sometimes that can put you back into reality a really useful tool of getting into the moment, and also of cutting out negative thoughts that are coming at you.
What's your favourite affirmation?
My favourite affirmation, good question. I suppose my favourite affirmation would be that I'm healthy, and that I've done this before, and that I can overcome whatever is in front of me.
And before we wrap up, can you share some of your views on where you see the future of law going in terms of business development, relationships, marketing, and...
Sure. Look, I have fairly strong views on that. I think we are seeing the end of a period where business development and marketing is centred around law firms or other professional services providing talks on those issues. I think it's getting harder to get people in, so you've got to put forward topics that are of interest to your client. As I said, stand in their shoes. What are they really needing now? I know with one of my clients who's in wealth management, we run a talk every year on wealth and health, because health is clearly something of importance to them. Another client I work with gave a talk on mindfulness, because that's what people want. So I think we have to try and stand back a little bit and saying, where can we etch out a relevant role in the lives of our clients going forward in 2017? And I think it's in ways that would really amaze us that we can bring things to them about issues that we don't, in the past haven't seen that was our domain. I think we've got a chance to do that, and that we should, and that's how we can become relevant to them.
Mark, this has been wonderful, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise.
Thanks. Now, Mark and I would love to hear from you. What is the biggest insight you're taking away from today's conversation? Comment and share below and let us know. If you like this episode, please subscribe to our channels and share this video with your friends. And thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time on Gatehouse Insights.